Welcome to the Explainer. Now, if you're building a product, you've probably heard this advice a million times. Find your key user. But what if that advice, when you follow it blindly, is actually the very thing that could sabotage your whole project? Today, we are unpacking the key user trap.
So just imagine for a second, you found them, the perfect user. They get your product, they love it, they give you amazing feedback. It feels like you've struck gold, right? But what if listening too closely to that one person is the trap? What if it's actually leading you to build the wrong thing for everybody else?
Okay, so first, let's talk about why this whole idea of a key user is so powerful and, let's be honest, so seductive for anyone trying to build something great.
So what is a key user, really? Well, in a nutshell, they're that ideal person. Super engaged, knows their stuff, and they're always ready with feedback. They become the voice you rely on to make sure you're headed in the right direction.
And you can see the appeal, right? On the surface, they seem to offer this clear, straight line to what the market actually wants. It feels like a shortcut through all the noise and guesswork of product development.
The promise is a perfect product, tailor-made for a happy customer. It feels safe, it feels smart, but this is exactly where the danger starts to creep in. Because that feeling of certainty, it can absolutely be an illusion.
Okay, so let's get into the core of it. Because relying only on this one person's feedback can steer you directly into one of 5 hidden traps. And these traps can be, well, disastrous for your product.
Let's break them down. Here are the 5 traps that every single product builder needs to be aware of.
All right, first up, and this is the big one, lack of representation. It's this simple but really dangerous assumption that your key user speaks for everybody. They might feel like the voice of the market, but in reality, they're just one voice.
And here's the painful irony. By trying so hard to please this one person, you can actually end up building something so specific that it pushes away the broader market you wanted to capture. Or even worse, you make so many compromises that the product doesn't even perfectly solve the problem for your original key user anymore. You end up aiming for a tiny niche and missing everything completely. Now, that risk of getting way too specific has a name: overfitting. This is our second trap. It's what happens when you stop solving a real market problem and you start solving for one person's very specific, very niche requests.
I mean, think about it. Imagine you're building a fitness app for an elite, world-class marathon runner. You build it perfectly for them, only to realize that casual joggers, who are your real, huge target market, find the app way too complicated and totally unusable. You can spend months, even years, building a feature set that is absolutely perfect for one single person, while ignoring the thousands of other users you actually need. The result? A masterpiece for an audience of one, which is a total disaster for the business.
Okay, our third trap is a little more subtle because it feels like you're doing the right thing, learning from the best. It's called survival bias. This is when you see a superstar user getting these amazing results and you completely mistake their own personal skills for a sign that your product is just perfect.
So here's where we go wrong. We completely misattribute their success. We see this superstar and think, wow, it must be our tool. Our product is amazing. So we try to build their personal strategies and workflows right into the product for everyone. But we forget that their success might just come from their own unique talents and tactics. The tool is just one part of their success story. It's not the whole story.
Now for a trap that happens right inside your own company. This one's called influence bias, and it's what happens when you mistake an internal stakeholder, like a manager or a subject matter expert, for an actual real-life end user.
See, your internal stakeholder, they have a strategic, high-level view of the world. They're not the one in the trenches struggling with the workarounds and the daily pain points. But the real end user, they are in those trenches, and their feedback comes from a place of genuine everyday struggle. Confusing those two is a massive mistake.
Our fifth and final trap is maybe the trickiest one because it's psychological. It's confirmation bias. It's where we end up hearing only what we want to hear, and that creates this dangerous false sense of security.
So why does this happen? Well, think about it. Your key user is often an employee or a friendly customer. They're invested in your success. They like you, and that makes them unconsciously pull their punches.
They might soften their criticism or hesitate to tell you about a major flaw. So, they end up telling you what they think you want to hear, and that leaves you with a dangerously rosy picture of your product's real weaknesses.
So, after hearing about all 5 of these potential disasters, you might be feeling a little nervous about the whole idea of a key user. But don't worry, it's not about throwing the concept out. It's about using it the right way.
So, what do we do? How do we use key users correctly? The answer isn't to just ignore them. It's to radically change how we think about their role in the first place. It is all about putting their feedback into a much, much bigger context. And this quote from our source material, honestly, this is the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. Just let that sink in for a second. A key user is a starting point for your investigation. They are not the final destination. This is the mental model you absolutely need to adopt. Your key user's insight is the compass that points you in a promising direction, but it is not the entire map. To navigate the whole territory successfully, you've got to fill in the rest of that map yourself. And this framework shows you exactly how to do it. You start with your key user to form an initial hypothesis. Then, and this is crucial, you validate it with broader research. You look at the hard data to see what people are actually doing, not just what they say they're doing. And finally, you wrap all of that up in solid, user-centered design principles to build a product that serves your entire target audience.
And we'll end with this final thought for you to take away. I want you to look at how you're using feedback right now and ask yourself this one question. Is your key user a compass pointing you toward true north? Or have they become an anchor, holding you in one place and keeping you from reaching your true, broader audience? The answer to that question could change everything.